October 17th, we having a council work session today. Madam Clerk, would you read the roll, please?
Mr. Jacobs? Mr. Morrissey?
Here.
Mr. Powers?
Here.
Mr. Lind?
Here.
Mr. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Mr. Welper?
Here.
Motion to approve the agenda is proposed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the agenda. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passed. First one on deck today is Chief Trelka. And we're talking about the Waterloo Police Chief's Advisory Team.
And I attached my concept in a document to the agenda items that you have. It's a fairly simple concept, but on a regular basis, I review police department policies. Usually I do it in the winter months when things slow down. And police department policies change because of case law, circumstances, lawsuits, many reasons. It's a highly evolving, dynamic process. And one of the things that I like about the city of Waterloo is they empower department heads to create and adapt and adjust policies as long as it doesn't conflict with city policy. That's one of the things that attracted me to the city of Waterloo. Also, over the past several years, I've been getting requests from citizens to get more involved in our process, the process on our decision-making, current events. So I came up with this concept to get citizens involved in helping me review our police policies, in particular our use of force policies, which was suggested in a document that has generated some interest lately. But as I said, we continually are looking at our police policies, and the Waterloo Police Department policies are public records. There's absolutely nothing confidential in our police policies. As a matter of fact, we put them on our website. So I came up with what I thought was a bold, aggressive idea to actually have citizens who have felony convictions to be my advisory team. Now, this team has no authority, but still, I'm excited to get the input of these individuals who have been through the system. And I truly believe that we have many people in our society, many people in Waterloo and Black Hawk County who have been convicted of a crime and are on a path to a better life. As a matter of fact, I consider a couple of these people my friends. These are people I've met through my church who are, even though they have a felony conviction, they're doing so much to make Waterloo a better place. And these are exactly the people that I thought of that would be involved in this team effort. And it's not just me who's going to select these individuals to be on this team. I'm going to select one, the NAACP is going to select one, the mayor, the council, and the police union. I have buy-in from every single entity, and now I'm bringing it to the council. What's nice is there's no parliamentary procedure I need you to engage in to approve this. Even if any of the council members don't want to be involved in this process to identify an individual, you don't have to be, because I'm sure there'll be one or two of you that are willing to say, hey, Chief Trelka, I know this individual who fits the criteria. And I gave us a 2-year threshold in this as well. I want those people who are involved in criminal behavior to have been out of trouble for at least a 2-year period, so that it's an effort on their part to show that they no longer are engaged in criminal activity. As a matter of fact, I also picked that threshold because in our rules and regulations, our officers can't associate with anybody who's a felon unless they've been removed from that criminal behavior and have a conviction that's more than 2 years old. One slight adjustment I plan on making to this is I presented this to the Human Rights Commission on Thursday. As it currently stands right now, 6 people are going to be involved in this, myself and 5 other individuals. The Human Rights Commission asked if I would allow one of their members to be on this team as well. And I do like an odd number, so I'm heavily considering that, and that would be 7 of us involved in this team. We would meet quarterly, and there would be an emphasis on, our number one priority would be reviewing police policies, but in particular, use of force policies. And we'd also have an opportunity to review current events and happenings at the police department. The one thing that I like about this is these individuals who are going to be on this have street credibility. So when I talk about use of force incidents at the police department, they can go back to the community and educate community members about why we use force under certain circumstances and situations. Because the use of force is never pretty. Even if it's just pepper spraying somebody, that doesn't look, it's not like it is in Hollywood. If you put somebody in an arm hold or force somebody to sit in a squad car with pressure points, it's never pretty. There's yelling, there's screaming, there's profanity, typically from the people that it's being utilized on. Or not typically, but on occasion. So, in these discussions with these individuals, they have street credibility. They can go back into our community and hopefully better educate our community.
Questions? Anyone?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Truck, are these felons, have they earned the right to vote? Will they be felons that have earned the right to vote?
No, there's one individual that I have in mind that I've been working with him to get his rights back, but he's not to the point yet where he does. As a matter of fact, he's my pastor.
Chairman,
Yeah.
are you looking for gender balance in this as well?
I didn't think of that, but yeah, I'll be honest with you. Most citizens who are convicted of a felony tend to be men.
Right.
Chief, how soon are you planning on starting this?
I want to have my first meeting December 1st.
And we give recommendations directly to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No, Mr. Morris?
Yeah, whether they have obtained their right to vote or not is not any, there's no eligibility requirement other than what you have laid out in your paper here, isn't that correct?
Correct. Because for somebody to serve on a city committee, an official city committee, they have to have their right to vote. But to serve in an advisory capacity to me, they don't. Or any department head for that matter.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Chief Trelk, will you be developing this document that you have here further, or is this it? As far as from like a bylaw standpoint of or where they have to operate under a particular type set of rules, or is this going to be it?
I anticipate this is going to involve, this is component one of citizen involvement with the police department. Captain Leibold is working on another component, and that component, it's not necessarily restricted to the individuals with these restrictions I have right here, but it'll include citizen involvement along with the officers of reviewing use of force incidents, and as we proceed in the future from that incident. And one thing I want him to do with that team or that advisory committee is to not only look at our use of force, but look at, because the one thing I like to do is I like to look at use of force incidents nationally that are generating a lot of media attention, and then discuss it and decide, how can we avoid that? How can we not be that officer?
Chief, you were talking about odd number of committee members, even number of committee members. Is that where you're talking about the 5 felons and yourself being an even number, and by adding somebody from the Human Rights Department, that would then make it an odd number of 7?
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure I was following
Yes, sir.
your conversation there. And then your list of folks that picked these individuals, how did you come up with, just out of curiosity, the NAACP and the WPPA?
Philosophically, those two entities in particular tend to have disagreements on many issues, and I thought with those two groups in particular, if I can get buy-in from there, we're on to something here. And I got buy-in from both groups.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
This may, you may have this in there, that if somebody is named to this advisory committee and say they get picked up for something, but it's not a felony charge, it might be a misdemeanor, even misdemeanors would eliminate them from the committee?
Yes, they would be suspended, and if they were convicted, then they would be revoked from the committee.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I think that covers it, Chief. Thank you, and good luck with your proposal.
All right, thank you.
And next, we have an extension of the city limits urban revitalization area with Mr. Noel Anderson.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Noel.
I'm passing out a chart. What we'd like to show you is the effectiveness of how the CLRA has worked so far, based on the number of housing units that were built before and after the CLRA. As you can see on the chart, we mapped it back to fiscal year 2002, which is the last records that we had that were easily accessible. Looking at, and of course, kind of going back in time, the CLRA was adopted. Wait a microphone.
You're probably gonna have to get it recorded, aren't you?
Maybe for at
Think.
home, you need to talk into
Yes.
I don't know. I'm just wondering if you're
Noel Anderson, Community Planning Development Director. Going back in time, the CLRA was recommended after the meeting of several meetings of the GROW Committee, which stands for Grow Residential Opportunities in Waterloo. Councilperson Schmidt was the chair of the committee. We put that together with several developers, realtors, investment bankers, really a lot of people, landowners, a lot of people that were involved in the process. The Board of Realtors was on there, looking at ways to try and promote new, specifically 1- and 2-family homes in the city of Waterloo. We looked at TIFs. We looked at what a lot of smaller communities had done with TIFing entire areas, actually making subdivisions themselves, providing lots for $1 in the smaller communities. The city of Des Moines had done basically an urban revitalization area over the entire city of Des Moines, and it raised up a large amount of new residential units. As you may recall, we already have the CURA in place over a good portion of the developed portions of the city, primarily from Hawthorne North and containing a large part of the east side. So when the CLRA was adopted, it was basically to cover everything else within the city limits outside of the CURA and still give that 3 years at 100% tax abatement to people building new houses. The 3 years at 100% worked well with matching what one of the items was with the CURA. It also matched very well with what the numbers were specifically talked about in the GROW Committee. Kevin Fitro from Skogman Homes specifically brought data talking about he could build the same house in Waterloo, he could build the same house in Cedar Falls. The land was about the same, the infrastructure costs were the same in either one because it cost the same to build a house, buy the wood and all that in both places, build the streets. But typically the house in Cedar Falls then would sell for about $15,000 more on average than the house built in Waterloo. Ironically, the 3 years at 100%, at which somewhere between I think $150,000 to $200,000 house equates to about $12,000 savings in taxes over that period. So again, it kind of leveled the playing field. So as you recall, the City Council adopted the CLRA back in July 1 of 2011. Again, the chart before you shows our total units per year. We showed total units, and then we wanted to show single-family units, which are the 1- and 2-family homes, is what we're calling them alone. Total units per year, 2002 to 2008, that's a 7-year time frame, was about 109 per year. Total units per year, 2009 to 2016, was 162 units per year. And some of that, as you get into the flood money, there was extra tax credits given to the state of Iowa, so you saw more multifamily. There was also some flood recovery programs which helped promote more single family. So that's why we did the 2002 to 2008 and then the 09 to 016. And then we also break it down by before CLRA and after CLRA, so you can get an idea of how those flood recovery programs impacted it as well. Total units per year before the CLRA, 119.8 over a 10-year span. Total units per year since the CLRA adoption, 172.6 over a 5-year span, so an increase of about 52.8 total housing units per year. And I noted there, if an average house is valued at $150,000, we gain $3.57 million per year. At $200,000, we gain $4.76 million. At $275,000 per unit, we'd gain about $6.54 million per year. Looking specifically at the single family, Single-family units per year, 2002 to 2008 was 53. 2009 to 2016 was 60.75. And again, breaking it out, before CLRA, we averaged about 49.2 units per year. Single-family units per year since the CLRA's adoption, about 73 units per year, 5 years. So we've gained about 23.8 per year in new 1 and 2 family homes. This last year, we specifically had our second highest housing number of all time at 205. We had our highest amount of single-family homes at 99. We had our biggest single-family month in there, I think at 32 or 33. So again, housing is looking very well, utilizing the CLRA. At this point now, talking about extending the CURA, we have gone to the Planning Commission to leave the most options open for the City Council. We did recommend going to extend the CLRA indefinitely. Now, when we say indefinitely, that would be similar to the CURA wording. The CURA is set up indefinitely, but there's always the ability for the City Council to stop the program at some point if it would like. But this way, we wouldn't have to go through the renewal period every 3 years or 5 years or something like that. I'm going to have Eric Schrader talk a little bit about, he works specifically with getting building permits and talking to the developers about developing land.
Eric Schrader, city planner. So when the initial CLRA was adopted, it was adopted with a 3-year time limit. That initial 3-year time limit has lapsed, and the council did approve to extend it for another 3-year. So the current CLRA program is set to expire December 31st of 2017. That may seem like it's quite a ways out there yet, but our office is already getting calls asking about the program and whether or not it's going to be extended. We have potential home builders and potential developers that are unsure of the time frame by which they're going to have houses built, and they want to know whether or not that program is going to be there. So even though the December 31st, 2017 seems like it's out there, it's already impacting based on calls we're receiving where people are looking at to build. So we definitely think we need to get it extended, and we are concerned that the 3-year renewal, as was done last time, puts it on a cycle that, based on when builders, developers, potential home buyers, what their timelines are, it's always kind of on that horizon to where they're not sure if they're going to be able to utilize that program. So that always puts us in an unsure situation if we're losing out on homes that are going to build elsewhere because they're not for sure if they're going to receive that program. So that was the main reason we recommended going with wording similar to the CURA, which extends it indefinitely with the wording that it can be terminated at any time at the vote of the council.
Okay.
Just to add a little bit to that too as well, one of the things you need to think of, when someone's planning a house, they may be planning out a couple of years, but even the developers are planning out quite a few years. And I'll use the Skogman addition kind of at the southern end of Audubon Park as an example. I believe they preliminary platted about 108 lots, and now they're final platting about 30 lots. So they're already setting up themselves up probably on about a 3-year schedule. So we're trying to get these developers to invest in these pieces of land and plan out long-term plans, but they're going to need to know that the programs are there that'll ensure them to be able to continue to build and sell houses at the pace that they're doing now. I'm now going to have Adrienne go over, she put this map together to kind of show you where houses have been built since the CLRA was adopted. I think one of the first things you'll see on the map, and she can go into a little bit more detail, but there was some concern about we would only have housing in South Waterloo. As you can see from the map, we've had a good amount of housing in different parts of the city.
Adrienne Miller, Planner 2, excuse me. As you can see on the maps, actually right up front here, and then also the mapping that I handed out, there are a number of single-family homes and two-family homes that were constructed within that CURA boundary, which is the within that blue highlighted area. But a number of them, or most of them, I should say, are actually located without that, or outside of that boundary. As Noel stated, all around that boundary to the north, south, east, and west. It's a little difficult to show on these maps just due to subdivisions that are being developed, but as you can tell, there are clusters of new single-family and two-family homes that are being built all throughout Waterloo, especially down in that Audubon Park area and also in the Crossroads area. I can tell you that that's primarily where we've seen all of our new development within these areas, or those two specific areas, also down in the Summerland area also. This map does indicate housing from fiscal year 2012, which is approximately when the CLURA and CURO, or the CLURA was adopted, all the way up until that fiscal year 2016. And then the red dots do indicate the single-family homes, and the yellow dots, or symbols, do indicate the two-family homes. I guess if you have any further questions on the map, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I'll let Noel kind of take it over.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, no, when do we approve the extension of the CLERA? A year before, 2 years before? I forget, we did it last time, but how?
We would recommend moving ahead in the upcoming months. So we've gone through the Planning Commission to gain their input. They did recommend approval of the indefinite timeline, and moving ahead with the wording in there like the CURA, where it could be ended. But they did recommend that at their last meeting. So we would recommend moving ahead with the readoption of this as proposed within this next month.
But on a typical 3-year cycle, when would we approve the next 3-year cycle? A year in advance?
We normally would have done it after December 31st, 2017.
No.
Prior to that, but I mean, right before that. So we would have gone to December 31st, 2020. Is that the question?
I don't think so. No. He's
Am I missing the
asking you,
question?
how far before the end of December of 17 would you typically?
Have approved it?
Right, brought this up
I think
for
we were
renewal.
probably 4 months ahead of it last time.
Okay.
But again, since we were getting a lot of the calls and all that now, we wanted to make sure that everyone, as they're planning ahead for their next projects, we wanted to go ahead and do it now before we get into the next construction season.
Did we have that problem last time, the first cycle?
Yes, we did. We had a lot of uncertainty, and quite honestly, before the last time, the very first one, we actually had a lot of people that didn't really believe the program was out there. So we kind of had a slow start to it, even because people didn't understand the program, or they just didn't believe that they would get 3 years from the city. And then before the last one, a lot of people were confused that if they built in the last year, they wouldn't get the full 3 years because it ends before that if we would not have approved it. And as long as you meet the deadline, you'll still get a full 3 years. So it took a lot of explanations there, and it's kind of occurring that way again, where people are getting nervous that if I do this now, will I not get 3 years? And they still would, as long as they did it before December 31st, 2017. And again, that's part of the reason why we think it's better just to set it up where it just keeps going. At this point, the city is getting the taxes in from those very first homes that were built under the CLURA program, so that, I'll call it the initial property tax hiccup is over. We should be getting in value from those first houses now, even though we're not getting it immediately for new houses now with the 3-year tax abatement. But again, with the additional 23.8 units per year in new single-family homes, and we believe that can continue to go up, we believe we're more than making up for it with long-term planning for short-term success.
Why are we $15,000 upside down with Cedar Falls? Why? Taxes, schools, safety?
That was just appraisal value.
Why? Why?
That was just the numbers. Mr. Fittrell, I can ask him some more details on it. He's just saying that was the average sales price, that generally they would sell for a little bit more over there. I know that you can probably pick out the same house in both places, and sometimes they'll even assess a little bit higher over there on the average. So even though the tax levy may be higher, if your assessed value is lower, you're going to end up paying the same amount of taxes for the same house over there if you really can find the same house in both places.
I guess what I'm asking is, in a perfect world, we shouldn't need this at all. And I'm trying to figure out why we have to have it, because we got to fix that to get to the even
And, and part of that may be also that they were getting regardless of what the reason was, they were getting a lot more housing units than we were. And so it gets a little bit more difficult to not get options. For years we'd heard that a lot of the realtors would take people to Cedar Falls for new residents to the area. Some of those years we had one new subdivision going and they had 8. If I was a realtor, I probably would have taken them there first too, because just by close proximity, you're going to have more options to show them for lots when there's only one subdivision over here. Now that we have several subdivisions going, I think it's helping us move ahead to have those options for people for different lot sizes, different lot locations, and getting more housing developers interested in here.
Mr. Chairman. No, so what I'm seeing here is, and correct me if I'm wrong, basically at the time that this is extended, you want the 3-year language to go away and just it be there indefinitely, and then we as a council have the ability to stop it at any time. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
That is correct.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
At the time that we brought this up, and this really kind of just came up from, if you look at the numbers prior to 2008, you can see Waterloo was on a downward trend, and at that time, some of our neighboring communities, not just one, but several of them had a lot of activity going on, and we were just kind of having a conversation about, gee, what could we do to try and turn that around? And while I agree with Councilman Lynn's question, and I do think, unfortunately, that's probably a bigger long-term issue than we're going to be able to deal with right now. But I do think looking at this, it did accomplish what we hoped it would. I'm guessing we probably hoped it would do even better than it's done, but it at least ways stopped the downward trend, and we've started an upward trend. I did talk to several members of the Grow Committee since this came up, and I didn't find one of them that was in favor of, and I didn't talk to all of them, but I didn't find one of them that was in favor of taking the sunset clause off altogether. They, in general, thought maybe going to a 5-year would be reasonable. And again, if we go to a 5-year, 3 years from now, we could be having this conversation because you still got 2 years left. If there is somebody that wants to do a very large development, because again, the developments we're doing right now are still not huge by any means, but they're much better than what they were. So it seems to me that I just have a real aversion to taking the sunset off this altogether, and just, it's going to be like so many other taxes that once they get put into effect, nobody's ever going to look back and figure out how do we get by without those, or what could we be doing differently, or what could we be doing more efficiently. So I'd be in favor of expanding the 3-year to a 5-year, but I've got some real hesitation on just taking it off altogether, and just the people that are in that business seem to agree with that, so I think that makes sense to listen to them.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one question? No, if this was passed and it was no sunset, what's the procedure to change it? How would we change it? How would the council change it?
This is Schrader with staff. I may have to review that with legal, but as I understand, the general process for an item that's not being directed by a staff, that if it's coming directly from the council, I believe isn't the policy if 3 members request an item to be placed on the agenda, then it can be placed on the agenda? Or maybe Kelly?
It'd probably be 4 members, so that you're acting as a quorum.
That's never been clearly defined since I've been on the council.
Yeah, depends on who's the mayor,
Yeah,
what the
and
answer is.
as you're saying too, the mayor sets the agenda, so if there's a group of council that wants to revisit this, you can speak with the mayor about getting that on the agenda, and you could do a work session then to discuss how to make those changes going forward.
So in other words, to change it back without a quorum to even get it on the agenda, it
Yeah.
wouldn't happen.
You would want to have a quorum of council, just because you guys are supposed to act as a body.
Okay. See, that's the problem. That's just what Steve says. Then it's, I like the oversight we have right now in this situation.
I think the point is, Tom, is that if you don't have 4 votes, there'd be no reason to even bring it back, or, request, review it.
I guess I would recommend to staff that, if there was a future date where they want, let's say we did it indefinitely and someone did want to bring it back up, I would recommend that we would have a work session like this and discuss it and find out what the will of the council is. I always think it's good to openly discuss these things, and again, that's what we brought it to you today at a work session forum, was to talk about, at the planning commission, we set it up for the indefinite vote to see if they were supportive of that. They were, to give the council multiple options on what they'd want to do moving ahead.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Kelly, I don't think that you need a quorum to ask for a work session, do you? I mean, any of us could ask for a work session on a specific issue, couldn't we?
It's usually best if you guys are acting as a body. When you have a quorum, you're acting as a body, making decisions as a body. At any time, the mayor could put something on the agenda like that because the mayor sets the agenda. But as far as looking at sunset clauses, you would want to make sure that.
But as far as a work session where there's no votes being taken, it's just to discuss it. I mean, I don't think we need a quorum for that.
You're right, you don't.
Yeah, okay. And, Mr. Chairman, also.
Right, and I was speaking more towards, if you're talking about actually making the change to the sunset, you would want to have quorum going forward.
Right, I understand that, okay, thanks. And regardless of whether this would be 3 years, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or indefinite, at any given time, we could call for a work session if we had problems with what was going on and seek adjustments to it. Isn't that correct? So whether it's 3 years or indefinite, seems not to make much of a difference as far as if the will of the council is to do something different or to change it. Isn't that correct, Noel?
I would agree with that. I mean, I don't think I've ever turned down a work session that the council has asked me to set up on something that we deal with.
Okay. And also, I was wondering, looking at this, and you mentioned different development areas, I'm wondering where the development areas are in Ward 3 and Ward 4.
We're definitely working on those. Obviously, it takes private investors to try and get these things going. We believe with the stronger overall housing numbers that we'll continue to find investors that want to look for new opportunities, new price ranges, even new locations in Waterloo. So we think that the overall housing numbers going up will help Wards 3 and 4. We are working specifically on a couple of ideas to try and get development over in those areas that I can't discuss at this time.
Sure.
There's former school sites on all areas of the community, obviously, that we're looking at for infill development too.
Are there currently any earmarked development areas in either Ward 3 or Ward 4, though? No.
You mean specific ones that people are working on?
Yes.
Not new subdivisions, and again, there's not a lot of, there's some infill sites, obviously, there's some old school sites that could get you maybe 8 to 14 lots. We are looking to try and open up some of those larger areas where it's 10, 20, 40 acres and start some new roads and things like that. And it's a matter of looking at the infrastructure, but then it's getting someone that wants to go there and feels confident that they can build new roads, new lots, and new homes.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman. Two quick things. Number one, Noel, if you go back prior to the CLURA, probably virtually all the CURA activity would have been going on in Wards 3, 4, and 5. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other thing, I guess, going back to, again, Councilman Lynn's question about the sunset clause, I think virtually every tax of this nature that's been proposed, sales tax, the option tax, the school tax, all those taxes are originally proposed with a sunset clause. And they're proposed with a sunset clause to get the taxpayers to support them. Then once they're approved, oftentimes elected officials, in order to take the pressure off themselves for future conversations, vote to do away with the sunset. And that's my fear here, is that if we take this off completely, this will be like every other tax we pass since I've been on city council. There'll never be any looking back. And we'll all try and figure out, why does it cost so much to live in Waterloo? And if we never stop and talk about it, I just think that's irresponsible. So I think 5 years ought to be the limit. But
and again, we compared it to the CURA, which was approved without a sunset clause in place, other than the council being able to take specific action to do it. And it just depends on if you look at this as a tax. You know, we look at this as a incentive to try and get more people to ask, how can I live in Waterloo? And it's working at another 24 houses a year at this point, just in single-family homes. And it's bringing more developers here. We're going to put together some more information about the number of plats and lots platted before the CLURA and after the CLURA as well, so you can kind of see not only how it's impacted by the number of houses being built, but by the number of housing opportunities that are being created out there by the developers. And just going back to what you said with the Grow Committee, Councilman Schmidt, you're correct. When we were looking at it at the Grow Committee, Waterloo makes up about 53% of Black Hawk County's population. We were getting about 21% of the new houses in Black Hawk County built in Waterloo, so the surrounding communities were really getting the majority of housing. And we'll be reevaluating those overall numbers as well to see how the percentages have changed.
And the other thing, real quickly, I don't think I mentioned, I meant to, is the other potential downside to this has been the devaluation of the existing housing market, because what maybe was a $200,000 house now, I can build a new one for $200,000 and not pay any taxes. Well, that existing $200,000 house now is maybe worth 180, 185, 190. I mean, that reality is setting in from what I've heard from realtors. So I do think that's a little bit of a downside that only affects the people that are looking to sell their houses. But I'm guessing we're going to hear about the devaluation of some other property in Waterloo too, and I'm not sure.
TJ only brings good news.
I'm looking forward to that. To what degree this has necessarily had an impact on that or not. But I know it's had some impact. I just don't know how much.
I believe there's obviously some correlation there. I'm not sure exactly how direct or indirect it is. Because obviously, again, going back to the Cedar Falls question about why was the same house being valued more there. I think it was because they were getting more housing. So as we're getting more housing here, hopefully that helps to raise some of the values, because you're raising some of these neighborhoods up with the new investment, new infill, new housing going up a little ways away from them. So bringing that overall housing market up. But again, it's hard to directly correlate that, I guess.
Mr. Powers, did you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to, sorry. Have you followed up with any of these homeowners in terms of when their full tax obligation hits? Are they putting their houses on the market?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know, Eric, you talk to them more than I do, I guess, directly.
What?
I'm not aware of any. That's certainly not to say that there couldn't be some out there, but I have not heard of that occurring. Having the 3-year tax abatement is a significant incentive in choosing to build in Waterloo, but from a selling your house, I'm not a accountant or financial person by any means, but there's a payback period that is long greater than 5 years, that generally speaking, if you sell your house in that short of a time period, you're going to be taking a loss whether you had a 3-year tax abatement or not. So generally speaking, you're probably going to see at least unless there's other factors like job, that type of a thing, generally, you're going to be looking to stay in that house for at least 10 years.
Mr. Chairman?
One last question.
And I had heard the comment about the downside to CLURA and what it meant to the housing stock we currently had to the people that are trying to sell their homes. But on the flip side of that, it's also a positive for the people that are looking for homes for buyers. They're getting a better deal.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think we need to wrap it up. Thank you, Noel.
Thank you.
Next, we have property evaluations presented by Black Hawk County Assessor T.J. Koningsfeld, submitted by Michelle Wiedner.
It's going to take us just a minute to get set up.
Yeah. This is
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, there's.
There's nothing in here about what the value's gonna be, just how they do it.
We're still on, we're still live.
We got
Someone actually organized that.
I think this is the right one.
Hopefully this has
There we go.
All right, I think we're just about ready.
Okay. Gentlemen,
Screens are about to start working.
we're going to start the third work session. Mr. Morrissey?
I think TJ probably needs no introduction, but we just wanted to let you know, this is the fourth in our budget preparation work sessions, and we asked TJ, the Blackhawk County Assessor, to come and talk with you about the assessment process, because that's really where our property tax story begins, and so he's here to tell us about that.
All right, again, TJ Koenigsveld, assessor. Been in the office for 16 and a half years. Been an assessor for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. Like it's been forever. But I did put a little presentation together with the fall leaves and whatnot, fitting for the season. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just kind of go over just this presentation. I believe you guys have it there. We just touch on points. Feel free to butt in if you have any questions or anything. If you know, we can have question time at the end as well. This is just a introduction of everything pretty much we do. I did give this presentation a while, well, it was about a year and a half, 2 years ago here probably. But I did change a lot of it since the Senate File 295 is already through now, so we actually have things implemented as far as that goes. Before it was just seeing what would actually happen, here's what things can happen kind of thing. Now it's we know what's happening. So the beginning of the process, basically, next one, I have the mouse, so I can control that, right? Yes, it's so different. Land values are set, and typically 15 to 25% of the sales priced of an improved parcel. So what that means, if you don't have good land sales in a neighborhood, typically house sales for $100,000 in a neighborhood, $15,000 to $25,000 what you're looking at for land, which comes down to location. That's your main factor, is location. If you're in an area that your land values are low, there's probably not a whole lot of demand, and your house value is probably, in the $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 range. That's just pretty typical. Ours, I believe we used for the 2011 revaluation, I think we were 17.5% is what we chose for the land. So typically 15 to 25 throughout the state is normally what you'll see on that. We rely on the permit system, realtor information, and on-site inspections to correctly list each property to ensure equity. We review every sale. We go out to properties. Permit system is huge for us. Without permits, obviously people are doing things without permits, and we may not catch the basement finish or something until after the fact, but we do our best to get what we can. We have six field workers and 70-some thousand parcels, so it's not going to be 100%, we know that, but we do attempt to get everything listed correctly. That is the beginning of the process. We value properties using the mass appraisal method. A fee appraiser values properties using 3 to 6 comparable properties and adjusting them to the subject. So what people do is they think they have an appraisal on their house. We're not going to be perfect with those because we use mass appraisal. So we're looking at an entire neighborhood, come up with a value within the neighborhood. And I'll touch on that on the next slide here, or the next few slides here. What a fee appraiser does, they go out, they pinpoint your house, they find 3, 4, 5, 6 sales that are similar to yours throughout the area, or within the area, within the county usually, and they'll adjust those sales to the subject. Come up with value that they like. And you can find anything from banks, you'll come up with different appraisals, home equity, there's a number of reasons to get appraisals. They have to specify what their reason is for getting that appraisal. Then they'll submit to us and they'll go to the board review, which I'll speak on that next. Values are set as of January 1st each year. So no matter where your house is sitting as of January 1st, that's what the value is. So if you start a new house and you've got the foundation in, you've got some rough framing, the roof is on, we would have a partial value on that. The number one thing we usually get is, well, I'm not even done yet, you're already here to tax us. Well, we're not here to tax you, first of all. We are here just to set assessed value. We use a partial sheet, which is percentages. So it goes in and we go in and we just break it down. So if we got the roof worth 15%, we got a basement that's 15%, and just go right down the list to give us a percentage. A completion basically is what it is. So we have to assess as of January 1st each year. In the odd numbered years, which is 2015, 17, and 19, and so on. We revalue properties based on prior year sales, and what that is just we revalue properties every other year. We don't assess properties in the interim years or the even years, which is 2014, 16, 18, that kind of thing. So basically, we assess every other year. Now, we maintain properties, permit system. If we feel there's a reason to change a house or change a commercial property or something, we can change it. But to do a county-wide revaluation, which is looking at your certain map areas, your certain neighborhoods, we do those every odd year. That's just by Iowa code. That's Iowa's just an interim, every other year is an interim year, basically. And we use, so we list the properties using the real property appraisal manual, which is given to us by Department of Revenue. And what that is, it gives us cost. It's all based on cost. So our company will go out, they'll research, what's a 1,000 square foot ranch going to cost with labor included. A lot of people will come to us with a house and they'll build it themselves, and they'll say, well, I only have $100,000 into it, but we're looking at market value. Well, he's not going to sell it for $100,000, obviously. You're going to sell it for what market is, which would usually include labor. That's where the actual values start from. That's where the actual base value begins, is right out of that cost manual, which was given to us by the Department of Revenue. It's all based on new construction. Okay, so this is the process that we actually use. So what this is you're looking at, let's see, so this airport here, this is going to be North Waterloo. Here's the interchange. This is all North Waterloo. The blue parcels are all North Waterloo. So what this is basically a portion of Waterloo. This is what we'll call a PDF or a parcel data file. It's got however many homes in it. There's whatever North Waterloo portion has. This is just a kind of key in now. So we've got an East Waterloo, a South Waterloo. We've got a number of Waterloos. And what we do then is we'll have this entire area, and then we break it down into what we call map areas or neighborhoods. So this would be, the one we have up here is, here's like Midland. This one was a pretty hot one this past year for our revaluation for 2015. Had a lot of people come in talking about that area, and they saw an increase. So I figured it'd be a good example for something like this. What this is, so out of that previous map you saw, this is a neighborhood within that map that had within the blue. And what we did then is we run a list, like basically a map like this is going to show your sales that happened from 2013 and 2014. Again, 2015 was the revaluation year. 2016 is just maintaining what we have. So the last revaluation was 2015. So we're looking at 2013 and 2014 sales. The red indicates a ratio under 100%, and the green indicates a ratio over 100%. And so what that's saying is then the ratio is just simply assessed value divided by the sale price. So if you've got, a $100,000 sale and the assessed value is $150,000, just take your $100,000 divided by $150,000. That's going to give you a ratio or a percentage. That ratio is what the Department of Revenue tells us we're supposed to be at between 95 and 105% by Iowa code. So if we're not within those guidelines, and that's where we get equalization orders, which I'll touch on that here soon too. So that's what that is. Each one of the red then they paid basically over our assessed value, and the green they paid under our assessed value. So that gives an idea. In this particular neighborhood, we were a little low on values. So, oops, the other direction. So the spreadsheet then that's sitting here is a breakdown of what you just saw on that map then in spreadsheet form. And so this is what we'll do then is we'll take those sales, we put them on. It's good to see everything on a map and a picture to see what you're actually looking at. Now we break it down into Excel spreadsheet. So this would be PDF 6 North Waterloo 10, which is just doesn't mean anything to anybody but us. It's North Waterloo 10. It's just a map area or a neighborhood we have. The parcel numbers on your left side, the sale amount, the assessed value before the revaluation, which would have been the 2014 assessed value, the ratio, and that would be the ratio before the assessed value or before the revaluation. So you've got, so the first one, for instance, we've got a parcel number which gives a certain house, certain address, certain owner. The sale amount was $115,000. The assessed value before we did anything was $88,580. That indicates a ratio of 77%, which is not good if you're supposed to be between 95 and 105%. But that 95 and 105% is meant to be for an entire area or entire class, not just particular houses. So what's where the mass appraisal comes in. So what you look at the bottom there, it shows a median of 81.97. On this particular map or neighborhood, there was 15 sales. So you take your top 7, bottom 7, your middle one's going to be the median. That's your middle ratio. Our middle ratio is 81.97, which is basically 82%. We strive to be in between that 95 and 105% again. So in order to do that, we have to raise the assessed values of the entire neighborhood, not just the sales, because then we're pegging sales, and that is not allowed. So after the revaluation, which would have been raising everybody's house a certain amount in this area, land usually stays the same. We're at 109,140 in that first one, or 94.9% or 95%. So then our median ratio now went to 95.12, and that was after that 2015 revaluation. So they did see a large increase. Nobody liked it, but I talked to them and I explained, it's a good thing. Your house is worth more than it was. People are paying good money for housing in this area now. It's basically correcting it. The median now went to 95% in this area. Now, of course, you're going to have, this is based in the middle, the median approach. So you've got, using mass appraisal, you've got houses that were high on in the beginning, and now they went even higher. That's just the nature of the beast. Still the ones low, we're still low in some of those. Mass appraisal is not a perfect method, but that's what we were given to use by Iowa code. So it gives you an idea on what happened in this particular map area for anybody that's in this one here. There was an increase, and say what we'll do is we'll look at this now for 2017. So these values coming out this January 1st, we'll break down all the sales that took place between January 1st of 2016 through, 2015, January 1st, 2015 through December of 2016. That's going to give us 2 years of sales for that January 1st of 2017 valuation. You would think after seeing an increase like this that we're probably a little spot on, but sales do whatever they want. Sometimes they come down. It all depends on who's buying, who's selling, and who's in the market, and what the interest rates are. That all comes into play. Some people, when they're buying homes, they don't look at the actual value of their house. They're looking at what's their house payment. The interest rate is 2.5%. I can afford $800 a month. That sounds great, better than the rent I'm paying at $1,200 a month. Whether they're paying $100,000 for a house that maybe worth $70,000 or vice versa, that's just the way it works. You look at your monthly payment. So that's the method we use for coming up with valuations. Was there any questions on that? I kind of didn't want to go through it too quickly, but I'm sort of limited. So, okay. Again, the Iowa code requires us to be between 95 and 105% ratio, or equalization orders are ordered and are issued. And what that means is, if our entire class, so if you've got an entire class residential, we could be looking at 90. Well, for instance, this one here before 2015. Before 2015 revaluation, we were at 93.9%. We're not within that 95 to 105% median of the overall sales. Now you're looking at 3,224 sales in the county. This isn't just Waterloo, this is the entire county. With that, we're looking at an equalization order. What the state will do is they'll bring us up to the 100% mark. We try to avoid that. That way each individual neighborhood gets the raise it should, or they'll lower it the way it should. Without doing that, then you're just giving a straight across the board percentage of, say, 8% throughout all your residential properties within Blackhawk County, which is not a good way to assess property, because there's some parts that need to go down, there's some parts that don't need to change, there's some parts that need to go up even higher. So after the revaluation, we were at 97.9% for residential class, which brought us within that statutory 95 to 105% ratio. So we didn't get equalization orders in residential, but we did see a lot of changes in value throughout the county in areas that needed it. Commercial dual class, 101%, 101.9% was our ratio going in. We didn't touch that because obviously we're within our guidelines there, so there was no reason to raise or lower any commercial. That could change this year. Just looking at some pre-percentage numbers here, it could change, but that's to be seen. We still have a few months or 2 months left of sales to go through, so there's not a whole lot of commercial sales, so one sale can make or break us on these kind of things. Agricultural for 2015, we updated to CSR2 and we adjusted the tillable, non-tillable. All that means is the Department of Revenue is mandating that everyone be on CSR2, and we were using the old CSRs. By 2015, by 2017, they're mandating it. We want to do it 2015 to just be on the same page with the rest of the counties. So, and all that is we're just putting on a new soil layer, which is CSR. So that's how productive your farm ground is, based on a 5-year productivity. It's a rolling average. There's not a whole lot of agricultural in Waterloo city limits, but there is some, and they saw a difference. Whether they went up or down, it's just tough to say what the old map layer said versus the new one. And that comes from the NRCS, which I'm not going to know what their national or natural resource something or other. Any farmer will know what it means. I'm not sure what that is offhand. So the 2016 is an interim assessment year, meaning majority of the value changes were due to improvements in demos only. So from 2015 to 2016, which is our current valuation we're in right now, there wasn't a whole lot of changes unless you added a house, added a deck, demoed a basement finish, anything like that. You won't see a whole lot of changes because it's not a revaluation year. And if you did get a value change, you saw one of these from our office here. It's a little difficult to read on the screen, but what is it's an assessment roll. And this just goes in, gives you the old value from 2015. It shows you what the new value is for 2016. Breaks down, so this person here, 127,360, and it went to 133,000. Now, whether they did something in their house or not, I don't know offhand, but it could have been that they actually did something in their house and their neighborhood values didn't change, or they just simply saw the increase like the rest of the neighborhood saw because of the sales in the past 2 years. That's where that revaluation stuff comes in. This one, for instance, 2016, so it had been something that they've done to their house usually. At the bottom, it does talk about border review and all that stuff, which we'll get into that here soon. But everyone that sees a change in their valuation will get an assessment roll from us. Of course, we get a lot of the, we didn't receive this. Well, we put them in the mail. That's where they go from there. I don't know. I don't know. So then if you're not happy with the assessed value we set, there's the appeal process, which starts with the board review. So the board review is 5 members of the community that are appointed by the Commerce Board to a 6-year term. And the board consists of 2 realtors, 1 appraiser, 1 contractor, and a farmer for agriculturals. Each member is actively engaged in their profession, and Iowa Code gives them several powers, including lower or raising our assessments. So people come in, they talk with the board review, and either raise or lower. We get both sides. If someone wants the home equity loan, our values are too low. They think we're too low. 9 out of 10 of them we're too high on. They'll come in, they'll say, hey, your value is this. They'll come with appraisals, pictures inside their home showing holes or whatever. We're not going to know every single house, obviously, as of January 1st every year, so we do leave it up to the property owner to keep us informed. If there's something that's changed, we don't know unless there's permits issued or anything like that. And what they do is they can change their values, lowering it, raising it, however they see fit. If they decide not to, then there are 2 other options, which is PAB, which is the Property Assessment Appeal Board in Des Moines. The other one is District Court, and both of those are within 20 days after the board review adjourns. And those are separate boards. The PAB board is in Des Moines. They have a 3-panel board, 3-person board there, and they simply listen to it. They have no idea what our actual neighborhoods are. They don't have any clue what the valuation the city is doing. They look at the evidence, say this is this. Our board review actually works with the market. They work with the people. They know exactly what's going on. Usually, they're still active in the marketplace, so they're usually pretty good to work with if you supply good data. So the dates to remember for what we have here, January 1st is our effective date of current assessment, so every January 1st we'll set a value on property. February 1st, the deadline for majority of the exemptions such as forest reserve, religious, charitable properties. That's all, I have that all on the website as well. April 1st is the assessment rolls are due to the property owners with any value changes. So we usually try to mail those out the last week of March, middle of March, somewhere in there, just depending where we're at. But we have to have those in property owners' hands by April 1st. April 2nd through April 30th is the time to file a protest with the board review. So we have protest forms right on our website. You can fill that out. Send it in between April 2nd and April 30th. They're pretty hard with the dates. That's right out of the Iowa Code. If it's you turn in May 1st, it just it's no good. It doesn't count. It's untimely filed. So those dates are very specific. May 1st through May 31st when the board review meets each year. They go through, they look at all the protests that are submitted and make their decisions from there. And then October 1st is when the equalization orders are issued to the auditor's office, and that's only in odd-numbered years. That is based on our sales again, like we talked about before. If we're low or high in a certain class, they'll issue those orders to us, and that's going to be cover the entire class. October 9th through October 31st is the protest period for filing with the board review on properties that receive an equalization order. Those are in odd-numbered years again, and they only meet for a short window there. We do have to mail out assessment rolls now. That was something that came in the Senate File 295, that we do mail out assessment rolls in the odd-numbered years as well for equalization orders. Before, it was just using mass media such as Courier, things like that, but now we actually do mail out assessment rolls for the equalization orders. And then October rollbacks for property class are issued by the Department of Revenue. Those are not out yet. They will be soon. We usually get them right about the last week of October, so we'll know what the rollback is, which we'll talk about that shortly here as well. Credits and exemptions: homestead credit, military credit, disabled vet tax credit. These are all, homestead, military are all entitled. If you own a house and it's in your name, homestead credit, it saves you on your tax bill. Military as well if you're active duty. It's all July 1st. Disabled vet, you have to be 100% disabled. Work with Kevin Dill in the VA office. He will make sure you are taken care of there if you have the correct paperwork and meet the criteria. And then the business pride tax credit was something new that was started in 2013. This is for Waterloo. These numbers here represent actual Waterloo numbers here as far as the max credit and everything. It's based on levy rates. It's based on rollback. They come up with a rate equation. 2013, there was a $50 million fund in funding, valuation capped at $59,507. So if you had a commercial business that was assessed under $59,507, you wouldn't have received that $1,000 of credit. You would have gotten something underneath, kind of prorated. What it actually does is it equals out to be what a residential property tax bill is. So under a certain amount, they evened it out with the residential. 2014, $100 million in funding. The valuation cap was $183,896. So if your value was under $183,000, you wouldn't got the same, or you wouldn't got the max amount, which is $2614. 2015, the max now is $255,857. That credit is $3586, $3,586.91 for Waterloo, which is pretty good for a tax break given by the state there. So we surprisingly have people that don't sign up for it. That's a pretty good chunk of change there. If you have any more questions on credits and exemptions, you see our website. I've got it listed here.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it just automatic, or do you have to apply for these exemptions?
Yes, you have to apply for them. Nothing is automatic. Now, the business pride tax credit, that is something that you have to apply for July 1st. Once you have it though, but once you change your name, change anything with the unit on what they considered units. If you Joe Smith to Joe Smith LLC, that's considered name change. You'll lose that, but we mail out letters to people, let them know that they need to come in and sign up. So I run a report usually at the beginning, about a month before the deadline to sign up, which would be July 1st now. We'll run out and then we'll go and we'll mail out letters to all the property owners that qualify for it. If you had a name change, transfer, anything happen like that. Will they choose to sign up or not? I don't know. They'll lose it if they don't, and then they come in usually upset, and I explain to them, well, we do what we can, this is the rules, and I can't change the rules, it's Iowa code. So it is something that, in homesteads, those are the same, or those don't leave until you move. So if you take them on, you decide to move, you'll want to re-sign. Military, same thing. They're all having to re-sign if something changes, or they'll just carry over normally. But if you do change something, you will.
I guess I've never looked at my taxes, whether I'm getting exemptions or not for military. Is it written on there?
Yeah, it'll be on our website. If you go to our website there, bring up your property information. On the detailed report, you'll see in the tax portion, it'll say homestead, military, all that stuff's there, and it'll say yes or no, and there a Y for yes or not. Just take a look at that.
All right.
That's a one-time sign-up.
One-time sign.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever done that.
And it's on what is mailed out too, right?
What's that now?
It's on what's mailed out also.
Oh, yeah, on your tax bill too. You'll see it on there. It should say on there too. It'll say homestead, I believe, is $1,852 off the assessed value. So it ends up being, I think, Waterloo, $78, $79 a year. But it's that $78, $79 a year for however long you pay tax on the house. So,
Sure.
I mean, it adds up fast.
Sure.
Waterloo's homestead is right around $200 right now. The business property tax credit obviously is by far the best thing there ever was for commercial. Okay, city, I'll move to the next here. Cura, minimum assessments. I walked in, talking about this. I don't know if this is going to be just a review real quick of what it is, a specific area. So Cura, our city urban revitalization area, is a specific area of the city that is allowed to improve their property without a tax increase on those improvements for 3 years or incremental for 10 years. Residential must be at least 10% of the total improved value, and commercial must be 15%. So if you put a new addition on your house, that new addition, what we'll do is we get the paperwork from the city. It's approved by resolution. We'll get the paperwork from the city by March 1st, and that new addition will be either no taxes on that new addition for 3 years, or it'll see a scheduled increase, which I believe is set by Waterloo, whoever sets that. All we do is we just follow whatever comes to us. The city limit urban revitalization area, that's the new dwellings, which that's what we were talking about before here, it sounds like, which is citywide except Acura. They do not pay tax on their home for 3 years. They still receive a tax bill for the land. Now, I want to put that out. A lot of people think that they don't get a tax bill once they sign up for this. They still get a tax bill for the land, and it's the improved land. And we try to be at market value. Right now, these neighborhoods, pretty easy to set the land value because they're all selling pretty close to the same amount. So you'll still get a tax bill for the land, and applications are filed with the city by February 1st, and we must receive them by March 1st. And then we put those on. They won't see a tax bill then for 3 years on the new houses, or the improvements in the Cura area for 3 years or 10 years incremental. So that's just a percentage. That's really what that is. The minimum assessment agreements, we assess the property and it must meet the minimum assessment which is agreed upon by the developer in the city. Rebates are given by the city when the minimum assessment is met. So,
TJ?
yeah, yes.
Just a quick question back on the previous page. It says that down at the bottom, more credits and exemptions, and then up above the business property tax, and it specifically talks about Waterloo as tax district.
Sure.
Can you go online and find that for the different municipalities as well?
Well, no, actually no. This I just broke down just for this meeting here. The funding, it's just, there's an equation that they use, a long formula that they use to figure out. It's all based on individual rollback. So you have a rollback, you've got the levy rate. They come up with that. So basically, if you have a house under this base amount, you're going to pay the same tax bill as if you are a commercial business owner as well. So how they come up with that, that's something that the state gives us this information, we plug it in, and that's it. So we don't actually, I just did this just for this meeting here, but we do have all the credits exemptions as far as that is all online to see what there is. There's forest and fruit tree, there's a ton of them. There's a ton of them out there. But as far as know the individual numbers of each one, we have the information, we can get it. It doesn't matter just figuring out what it is. I mean, all I do is I look to see what a Walmart is in Waterloo, Cedar Falls. I know the max because they're going to be definitely over their $255,000. So I know what the max amount is. And now what the max for all these areas, that's for the Waterloo right here. Okay?
Yeah.
And that may carry over to the other side too. I'll have to look and see. This was just done for Waterloo. For the presentation purpose anyway. Okay, back to minimum assessments. We assess so basically what that is a developer wants to build something in the area. They'll go in, they sit and talk, come up with a number, and then we'll get that information. We have to be at that minimum. So even if we're under it, we will raise the value up to get to that minimum because that's how they get their rebates back for their taxes. So that's really all that is. We just get the paperwork, we enter it. Okay. I just want to touch on multi-residential dual class. This multi-residential dual class is a new class as of 2015. It's another part of the commercial tax basically breaks that that was voted in. Includes mobile home parks, assisted living facilities, property primarily used for human habitation, containing 3 or more separate dwelling units, and portions of the property is intended for human habitation. So if you got a downtown building and the apartment is, or there's apartments above, those are getting a different rollback than the business on the lower level. It's really, I won't give you my opinion on it, but it's pretty interesting how it all works out. I'm not sure how equalization is going to work on this kind of thing yet, 'cause it's brand new, but you basically have 2 classes for one structure. It helps out most for if you've got a apartment above, you're going to get a different rollback, which we'll go to the next screen. I'll show you the rollback. The commercial portion is going to get the 90%. The 90% is what was voted as the rollback for 2016, I believe, and that's 2015, I think. Get them confused, but yeah, the rollback is now 90% on commercial property. So the multi-residential is going to be going down until it meets up with the multi-residential is going to go down until it meets up with the residential. And these property, the hotels, motels, other buildings where rooms or dwelling units are typically rented for less than a month. We don't count those as multi-residential. All right. So the rollbacks for these two classes here are multi-residential. We're currently in our 2016 or 2015. We're at 86.25. Now, if you look down here, 2021 is going to be at 63.75%, and it says 2022 the assessment. Okay, 2022 assessment, it will equal the residential rollback. Now, I don't know what they're going to do because right now residential is currently at 55%. So I don't know if residential is going to raise up because this is about a 3% change in between these. I don't know if residential is going to come up and equal what this is, and if that's the case, residential is in for a world of hurt as far as tax bill goes. I'm not sure what they're going to do with this yet. I have not heard anything on how this is going to work, but they are going to say it, or the multi-residential drops down to where the residential rollback is. It's tough to say. We're still a few years out. I don't know what they're actually going to do with it yet. No one's indicated anything yet. It's still pretty new. So it could either multi-residential is going to come down pretty far, or residential is going to go up. I don't know. Commercial right now, 2013 is 95%, and there you have 2014 the assessment is the rollback is 90%, and that basically took off 10% of your valuation that you could have used. That's basically what that was. Multi-res considering the same thing, so your apartment buildings and everything that's not co-opt or condoed is getting this as well. Anything above the downtown buildings, all that kind of stuff. So.
Well, actually, we've run out of time, but I would allow just a few questions here if you can do them quick.
Mr. Chairman, quick question. When will you have the number that the city's going to get from taxes for our budget process? What date do you typically have that number?
We usually get that. I know our IT department usually and the auditor work together. They come up with something. It's usually right after January or late December. I usually get something. I did give Michelle some numbers, but it's just complete 100% taxable value. Rollback's not there yet. So once the rollback gets issued, they'll be able to figure all that stuff. That's the thing is right now the rollback's not issued. So we have a complete 100% assessed value there, but not what actually you can use for budgeting purposes. That's just the valuation, because after you take out your new homes, your minimum assessment agreement, that kind of thing, all that stuff, it obviously drops down your taxable value.
And I'm not responsible for that horn out there, by the way.
Sounds like Noel's car.
Well, I'll commend you on saving the energy, not using any air conditioning. That's nice, we're being green, we're saving the earth and saving tax dollars, fiscally responsible.
Ice cold in the courthouse, isn't it?
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Anyone else?
I went through it fairly quickly. If you have any questions, give me a call. I'm in the office. Assessor's office will be happy to help, and if not, I've got a great staff that'll be willing to help as well. So.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for helping us out with this today.
Yep, no problem.
Yep,
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Motion and a second on adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you. You ready? It's October 17th. Let's call our Finance Committee to order. Madam Clerk, could you read the roll, please?
Mr. Jacobs?
Here.
Mr. Powers?
Here.
Mr. Welper?
Here.
I'll make approval of the agenda and approval of the minutes from October 10th as proposed.
Second.
Motion and a second on the agenda and the past minutes. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Travel requests, I believe there's only 2 items under that.
2 travel requests tonight. Steve Homebrecker, Director of Waste Management, and 4 other personnel to attend the IWEA Annual Conference in Manchester, October 26th, not to exceed $150. Craig Hinspin, Signal Tech 2, and Brendan Hodgson, Signal Tech 1, to attend EPAC training, Davenport, Iowa, November 1st through the 3rd, amount not to exceed $665.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the 2 travel requests. Any questions or discussion on those? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Those pass. Pre-auths.
I'll take those, Mr. Chairman. With the airport, estimated costs of $13,127 plus $218 for shipping and handling. Expenditure of staff is requesting authorization to purchase 2 265-gallon totes of Cryotech E36 runway de-icing fluids at $5.90 per gallon. The airport amount estimated with shipping and handling is $3,500. The expenditures, the staff is requesting the approval of perform pavement hump grinding services at the airport on runway 1230. Building maintenance amount estimated shipping and handling $5,235 plus $115 in shipping and handling. The expenditure, window shade blinds, including installation for the first floor conference room at 5 Sullivan Brothers Convention Center. For the fire department, the amount estimated at $1,330, and that is for a Fluor K-12 thermal camera kit. The fire department, again, is the amount estimated shipping and handling $153.04. Expenditures for food-related items, Waterloo Community Playhouse fundraising event. Fire department amount estimated at $5,000. Expenditure 3 recruit hiring physicals. For the garage, the amount estimated $3,903.51 plus $200 shipping and handling. Front end suspension for unit 308. Leisure services, the amount estimated $7,000. Expenditure purchase installation 25 horse or HP VFD for Young Arena ice system. Leisure services, again, estimated $4,185. Expenditure Young Arena, the ammonia ice system annual preventive maintenance. Leisure services, again, amount estimated $1,872.50, and that's to purchase youth basketball shirts. For the police department, $31,849. Those expenditures, the annual software license enterprise agreement for police department computers, for Microsoft products, professional Windows, professional, and core Cal license. For the police department, the estimated shipping and handling of $10,080 plus $100 shipping and handling. Expenditure, 2 new flashback, 3 mobile vision in-car camera system. Sewer department, the amount estimated $6,520. Expenditure PLC processor, Ethernet switch, and labor for modifying the existing lagoon blower PLC application. Sewer system, the amount and estimated $3,888.50 plus $55 shipping and handling. Expenditure replacement, Zetron model 1732 core module and accessories for the lagoon. Sewer department, the amount estimated at $3,985 plus $200 shipping and handling. That expenditure is a replacement of Amuna electric actuator assembly for EQ basin. And the sewer department, the amount estimated at $3,234 plus $200 shipping and handling. Expenditures for the Amuna actuator transmitter and potentiometer, parts replacement, motor, and repair labor for Easton control valve actuator.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on all the pre-auths. Is there any questions or discussion on any of those items?
So we have Chief Trucka talk about the 2 cameras for the cars, and is that something else that we're gonna continue to have, or what's the scope of that project?
Dan Trelka, Chief of Police. These are reoccurring costs. Technology improves, the cameras break, they wear out, so on a regular basis we replace them. And these are 2 replacements for current cameras.
So what's the forecasted need down the road then?
We've got approximately 32 squad cars that have cameras in them, so regularly we are replacing those cameras.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else? I have a question with the window shades at the Sullivan Brothers. I see Mr. Bozen's here. Could you expand on that we have so many needs at that building?
I can explain that. Mainly that's for the first floor conference room, and the UNI career fair that is in there uses that room extensively.
Okay.
And that's why we need those. They're a light filtering shade and they're motorized.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Here.
I'd just like to make a clarification if I could. I thought I heard Tom say that the fluid for the totes was $13,127. It's actually $3,127 plus the $218 for shipping and handling.
Yeah. I probably did.
Just to correct the record.
I don't see where that's at.
Expenditure, requesting organization. It's, in here it's $3,127 plus $218 for sheeper.
Yes, and I thought I heard you say 13,000.
Oh, okay.
So
I may have.
Just to correct the record.
I apologize, and I accept that.
No worries.
You're okay.
Friendly amendment of dollar savings.
Yeah. Thanks, Keith. Any other questions? Mr. Marcy?
Yeah, I just had a question for Steve Homebrecker, and regarding those 2 items, 2 things. Number one, are these things that are part of what's necessary for the consent decree to go forward and are needed in regards to that, or is this just general, replacement of parts? And then, quite frankly, what are these things? I can read the attachments, but it still doesn't say what it is, and with all those words in there, it'd be nice to know.
Oh, boy. Steve Homebrecker, Waste Management Services Director. There's 4 items on here. I assume you're talking about the latter 2?
The last 2, yes. Yeah.
I'm more familiar. I know both of those are, the very last one, that's an actuator that we need to control the valves. It's just an operational maintenance component of that. Without it, then we can't automatically control it when we need to use it. I guess the other one's actuator again one's for the EQ basin, and the other one's
That's been here the whole year I've been here.
it's a transmitter that goes along with that. Yes.
Okay.
So those are no longer functioning at this time, or is it just a maintenance issue?
This was a maintenance issue. I believe during the flood, that's when we found out they weren't working. This EQ basin isn't in use all the time. Hopefully, we seldom ever use it, but during the flood, I know we had some issues with it, properly recording the flows and controlling the valve.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, that motion passes. We have 4 budget line item amendments, which are on file at the city clerk's office, and within that are the bills payment. The bills payment this week is $2,839,205.67. That's 2,839,205.67.
Second.
We have a motion, a second on the bills payment. Questions?
To adjourn?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion for adjournment and a second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, gentlemen.
Everyone, and welcome to this evening's, someone said good evening back, I heard that too. Welcome to our city council meeting this evening. Madam Clerk, could you please read the roll?
Mr. Jacobs?
Here.
Mr. Morrissey?
Here.
Mr. Powers?
Here.
Mr. Lind?
Here.
Mr. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Mr. Welper?
Here.
All right, can't forget Mr. Welper. Right. Now it's time for our moment of silence. We ask that you stand or you can sit, it's up to you. Either way, but please join me in a moment of silence. All right, thank you. Now we will have our pledge by our city clerk, Kelly Feltley.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Mr. Welper.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as proposed and also the approval of the minutes of October 10, 2016 regular session as proposed.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda in minutes. This evening, we have several proclamations. The first one is for Gentlemen's Day. Is Autumn Craft and others in the audience today? All right, come on up.
This doesn't include you.
All right, Autumn. Good. Hello, welcome. All right, our first proclamation, Gentleman's Day. Whereas 1 in 3 women will experience violence in their lifetime, and whereas intimate partner violence impacts victims, children, family, friends, and the community at large, and whereas domestic violence is not confined to any group or groups of people, but is experienced in all economic, racial, ethnic, educational, societal, and religious groups, and is sustained by societal indifference. And whereas perpetrators of domestic violence should be held accountable for their actions, and victims should have access to support and services to help them overcome their experience. And whereas it is important to recognize the compassion and dedication of the individuals who provide support to victims of intimate partner violence and work to increase public understanding of this significant problem. And whereas only a coordinated effort from all community members will put a stop to this heinous crime. Now I therefore, Quentin Hart, Mayor of City of Waterloo, do hereby proclaim October 19th as Gentleman's Day. So, Autumn, can you please tell us a little bit about the occasion?
Yeah, I'm actually going to pass it over to Kelsey.
All right,
She's
Kelsey,
speaking on
could you
behalf.
tell us about it?
Thank you. On behalf of Waypoint Services, I would like to thank you, Mayor Hart, and the City of Waterloo for your support. Gentleman's Day this year will be Wednesday, October 19th, and it's just a chance for us to recognize those in the community who are helping us stand and have a voice against domestic violence.
You had a video project?
Yes, we did.
Okay, you want to tell us about what that was about?
Gentleman Day is an effort for us to raise awareness about the true gentlemen in the community, the individuals who do not commit acts of violence against women or others. And it's this is our 4th year doing this campaign, and we serve over 2,500 victims and survivors of domestic violence every year. And so we need the community's support in helping us end domestic violence.
All right. Thank you very much for all of your efforts. If there are any further things that we can do to support what you're doing, make sure you please let the City of Waterloo know. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right, next we will have Jim Day. Jim Day is in the audience for our proclamation for the NAACP banquet. So come up, don't be afraid.
I'm working at it.
How you doing, Jim? Good. All right, City of Waterloo proclamation for the NAACP annual banquet. Our lives matter, our vote counts. Whereas the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, is the nation's oldest and largest civil rights organization. Whereas its 500,000 adult and youth members throughout the United States and the world are premier advocates for civil rights in their communities, conducting voter registration drives and monitoring equal opportunity in the public and private sectors. And whereas the Blackhawk County branch of the NAACP was chartered in 1921 and will on Saturday, October 22nd, 2016, hold its annual NAACP Freedom Fund dinner in Waterloo, Iowa. Now I therefore, Quentin Hart, Mayor of the City of Waterloo, do hereby proclaim October 22nd, 2016, Our Lives Matter, Our Vote Count in Waterloo, and recognize the NAACP for their role to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of minority group citizens and to eliminate racial prejudice. So, Jim, can you please tell us what's taking place this week and a little bit about the organization? So, is this founded in 1921 locally?
1921 locally.
Wow.
1909. No, 1901 nationally.
Okay.
We're a little over 100 years old. The banquet is Saturday night, the 22nd, at the Isle Casino. There's still tickets available through tomorrow, so please feel free to join us. The speaker will be Ms. Betty Andrews, who is the state president of the NAACP. We're just a group who is concerned about dealing with segregation and prejudice and bigotry in our community, regardless of the cause and where it comes from. So we encourage all of you to join us and all of you to become members of the NAACP.
All right. Thank you, and thank you for your advocacy, sir. And we look forward to a great banquet this Saturday. All right. All right, we have another proclamation, United Nations Day. Is EJ around? And you're solo today, right?
Correct.
All right. Where is? Me too. Come on over. I won't bite. Whereas the United Nations was founded at the end of World War II to bring together a world devastated by war and injustice. Whereas the United Nations continues to provide a forum for countries to work together for security and development, to make progress toward combating disease, hunger, and poverty, to support action to combat climate change, and to encourage quality education for all. And whereas toward these ends, the United Nations recently adopted the following 17 Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduce inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and last but not least, partnerships for the goals. And whereas the United Nations work through a variety of agencies to provide peacekeepers in war-ravaged areas, to support refugees from war and discrimination, and to encourage international cooperation. And whereas the United Nations benefits the people of Iowa by protecting the environment, curbing climate change, preventing the spread of infectious diseases, facilitating international air travel, and expanding markets for Iowa farm and factory products by improving standards of living worldwide. And whereas the United Nations promotes values and practices cherished by Iowans, including respect for life, the peaceful resolution of conflict, assistance to those in need, human dignity, and self-government. Now I therefore, Quentin Hart, do hereby proclaim October 24, 2016 as United Nations Day in Waterloo, Iowa, and hereby encourage all citizens, residents, and visitors to join in observing this day and focusing on the vision of a world filled with peace and justice brought about by the cooperation of all nations. Those are pretty strong goals, pretty strong for the year 2030. But EJ, can you tell us some more about this effort? These efforts.
I'm speaking tonight as a member of the Cedar Valley United Nations Association of the United States. We've been active for about the last 10 years. There's also an Iowa organization. I've been interested in the United Nations from high school. When I was in high school, I got to participate in the Model UN, which UNI has held for a number of years. I went to Columbus with Mr. Morrissey and others, and I believe that West and East also participated, and I believe they still do. I also teach the Citizenship and the World Merit Badge just about every year out at Hawkeye for the Boy Scouts, and learning about the United Nations and international trade and other things is part of that. And I think United Nations isn't perfect, but it's done a lot, and I think we need to learn more about it, and I want to thank the mayor for this proclamation and recognizing some of its goals. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, EJ. Can we give him a round of applause? Mr. Gallagher, do you have any old high school pictures of Pat Morrissey?
Just probably in the yearbooks.
Okay, if you can forward those to me, they'll be worth a lot of money here. All right, thank you. Now we have another proclamation I'd like to call Julie Dawson up front. Thank you. It's our Fair Housing Month proclamation. You're fine. Whereas for more than 70 years, it has been the policy of this nation under the U.S. Housing Act to promote general welfare of the nation by employing its funds and credit to assist states and their political subdivisions to remedy unsafe and unsanitary housing conditions and the acute shortage of decent and sanitary dwellings for families of lower incomes. And whereas, according to the State of the Nation's Housing Report, nearly 41 million households now pay more than half of their income for housing, with more than 4 out of 5 with incomes below $15,000 paid more than 30% for their housing. Whereas, according to current estimates, on any given night, there are nearly 650,000 homeless nationwide and up to 3.5 million persons who experience homelessness at some point throughout the year. Whereas, according to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition's 2015 Out of Reach report, in no state can a full-time minimum wage earner afford either a 1 or 2 bedroom rental unit at fair market rate. And whereas, according to the National Housing Conference, healthcare workers and many other working professionals are priced out of home ownership in the majority of the U.S. metropolitan areas nationwide. Whereas, according to the Housing Assistance Council, 1.5 million, or 5.8%, of rural homes were considered substandard in 2009. Whereas, public housing is home to more than 2.3 million people, 37% of whom are children, and faces an estimated more than 26 million backlog in capital repairs. And whereas the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment officials raises public awareness of the importance of affordable housing and community development programs and resources. And whereas the aforementioned groups have declared October Housing America Month, part of a year-long national campaign to inform the public and decision makers of the critical needs to address the nation's housing and community development concerns. I, therefore, Quentin Hart, Mayor of the City, do hereby proclaim October Fair Housing Month, and which the City of Waterloo has over a period of many years endeavored to address affordable housing and community development needs, and has been successful in doing so using a combination of local, state, and federal resources. We hereby endorse the Housing America campaign, its goals, objectives, and purposes in recommit itself to meeting the affordable housing and community development needs of the city. So Julie, very
Briefly?
well, no, just very somber reality about the issues that people face. So can you tell us about October and this initiative?
Housing America is a organization, well, it's actually a combination of organizations put together a lot of affordable housing things in the country, and then also the National League of Cities, the United States Conference of Mayors, National Association of Realtors, Mortgage Bankers Association. All of these organizations are a part of this Housing America initiative. The main goal is to bring to the attention of everyone that we still have much more to do, even though there are a lot of programs available. For example, in the country, there are, for every 30 public housing units available, there's 100 people who need those units. Here in Waterloo, we have 1,056 housing choice vouchers to assist our residents, and we have 1,300 people on a waiting list. It is an incredible need, not only for rental housing, but also for affordable home ownership, and just to bring that to everyone's attention.
So you have people that are working and still not able to afford decent housing, or the percentage that they pay on their incomes are substantial.
Exactly. Actually, before this evening, I looked up, and I can't remember which organization it was, but they have a calculator to see how much you would have to earn per hour to rent a unit at a particular rate. And in Waterloo, you would have to make at full time $12.50 an hour to even afford an average two-bedroom rental in this community. If you only earn minimum wage, you need to work, get this, 69 hours a month to afford, or a week, excuse me, to afford that rent.
Right.
So that's the issue. So, 30% is where folks are comfortable, maybe
Right.
between 30 and 40. And as you read, so many are paying over 50%, and it just doesn't work.
All right,
So,
all right.
thank you
So we
very
thank you
much.
for all you do, your department, you got some great staff working with you. So we want to give you a round of applause for your services. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda. That's items 1 through 3. And just a side note on that, of the 19 items that are on the consent agenda, 16 are new homes asking for tax exemptions. That's a real positive for Waterloo. And also the bills payment. The bills payment this week, $2,839,205.67. That's 2,839,205.67.
Second.
All right, the motion has been made with the second to approve the consent agenda. Any questions, council?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Lynn?
1B3, several of us had conversations about making that a part-time position or sharing that position with leisure services. I was just curious of what happened to those recommendations.
Well, every position that comes before it even gets to you, there's a committee that meets to take a look and talk to the department head, to take a look at cost savings, see if there's a way that we can combine positions. So even if it didn't have a recommendation, we do those things anyway. Mr. Welper can attest to you on that. With this particular position, we decided that this needed to go forward as the department head suggested. So just would ask that you believe and trust that we scrutinized, we looked at it, we tried to create different scenarios, but this needs to be a full-time position at this point, as our belief is.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Land. Any other questions? Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Right, that item carries. Is Spencer Jensen in the audience? You want to stand up for us? Hey, we just want to thank you for agreeing to work for the city of Waterloo. We look forward to some big things from you, as you can hear. So many years of great success here. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Item number 2, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing, and that's for the Ridgeway Towers LED lighting project.
Second?
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, were there any comments on this item on file?
There are no comments on file.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this, or you just have general questions of what's before you? Going a second time.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to close the hearing.
Second?
Motion's been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That item carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to adopt a resolution confirming approval of plans, specifications, form of contract, etc.
Second?
That motion has been made with the second. Council, do you have any questions about this item? Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
All right, that item carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to adopt a resolution authorizing to proceed.
Second?
Motion's been made with the second. Any questions? Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Item carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to adopt or make a motion to receive and file and instruct the city clerk to read bids and refer to Housing Director for review.
Second.
Motion's been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We received a bid from Blackhawk Electrical of Waterloo, Iowa. They provided 5% bid security. Their bid amount was $52,700. The second bid was from KW Electric Incorporated of Cedar Falls, Iowa. They provided 5% security. Their bid amount was $54,450, and the estimate for this project was $80,000.
Right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to adopt a resolution then awarding the Ridgeway Towers LED lighting project contract to Blackhawk Electrical Company of Waterloo, Iowa, in the amount of $52,700, and authorize the mayor and Housing Authority Director to execute said document.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Any questions before we? Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
All right, that item carries. 3 through 5, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Lynn.
I move to adopt the following resolutions. Resolution 3, approving installation of a 25-mile-per-hour speed hump in the 100 block of Adams Street. Number 4 is a resolution approving supplemental agreement number 1 with JD Engineering of Waterloo, Iowa, in the amount not to exceed $93,500 for professional services for the fiscal year 2017 site grading for Northeast Industrial Park contract number 926, and authorize mayor and city clerk to execute said documents. 5 is a resolution approving the notice of intent for NPDES coverage under the general permit to the Iowa Department of Natural Resources for fiscal year 2017 site grading for Northeast Industrial Park contract 926, and authorize mayor to execute said document.
Second.
All right, that motion was made with the second. Anyone have questions on this particular item? Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
All right, those items carry. 6, 7, and 8.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Morrissey.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution approving notice of intent for NPDES coverage under general permit to the Iowa Department of Natural Resources for fiscal year 2017 Wagner Road Sanitary Sewer Extension and Grading, contract number 899, and authorize the mayor to execute said document. Number 7, a resolution approving award of contract to Twin City Tree Service LLC of Waterloo, Iowa, in the amount of $234,001.52, and approving the contract, bonds, and certificate of insurance in conjunction with the fiscal year 2017 levy tree clearing Cedar River Northeast, contract number 908, and authorize mayor and city clerk to execute said documents. And number 8, resolution approving application to the Iowa Department of Transportation for renewal of a 1-year permit to establish and sign a snowmobile trail within the right-of-way of state highways within the city limits of Waterloo.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. Council, any questions on these items? Anyone in the audience? Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
All right, those items carry. Someone take 9 and 10 on these.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Number 9 is adopting a resolution approving supplemental agreement with Impact 7G of Johnston, Iowa, for continued environmental work for the redevelopment of the Tech Works area for up to $23,000 in hourly services, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute all necessary documents. And item number 10 is adopting a resolution approving development agreement with Love's Travel Stops and Country Stores, Inc. and the city of Waterloo for construction of a new Love's Travel Stop with a new taxable value of $3.35 million and tax rebates of 8 years at 75%, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign and fully execute all necessary documents.
Second.
The motion was been made with the second. Any questions on these two items, 9 and 10?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Could we have an overview on item number 10?
Sir, Mr. Anderson.
Will Anderson, Community Planning Development Director.
As you may be aware, we've been working with Love's Travel Stops for a new project in the Martin Road area. This will primarily be straight east or across Greyhound Drive from the former dog track site. What Love's is planning to build there is about 20,000 square feet of building and canopy rooftop. It's about a $5 million project with a new taxable value of about $3.35 million, and working with the assessor's office to work with them to give them the incentives for essentially reimbursing them the land. We are offering them 8 years at 75% tax rebates.
So will they still be paying, they'll be paying on the debt and wells?
Correct. There's still and I forgot my council communication, but I put those numbers in the council communication. I think it's still over 12 or 14,000 into the debt service levy immediately, and then there'll be some more money going back into the TIF district as well to continue to put more infrastructure and development in that area.
Okay.
Noel, do you have any idea, I think Love's is building and I'm all about developing that area, let me preface it with that, but do you know, I believe they're also building a new facility up 218 up at Norris Springs or somewhere up in that neck of the woods. Are you familiar with that?
I am not, no.
Okay. I'm just wondering, I mean, it just seems to me this is almost borderline retail, and I'm a little bit concerned about having to make these kind of deals versus we're all talking about getting jobs, and I think in the documentation you sent us, was it 50 full-time jobs? Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, so I mean, that's certainly good to see. I'm just wondering if we're going to be, again, setting ourselves up that we can't get anybody to come to Waterloo without giving away, maybe not the complete farm, but a number of buildings anyhow.
I mean, currently the economic development policy or economic development plan does not differentiate between retail. It just goes into commercial and industrial development, and we give incentives for that development because, of course, the direct correlation back to the city of Waterloo is the property tax creation. Obviously, the jobs, the traffic, customers coming in there, local option sales tax, road use tax, and all that is all indirect things that come back to the city by creation of these new projects, but the property tax is what the economic development plan bases it on and doesn't differentiate, saying you cannot give it for retail. And of course, we did put a TIF district around the Crossroads Center area to give incentives to retail in that area, so we've been giving it in the other areas as well.
And in your humble opinion, Love's would not have built here had we not made the offer we made?
They're definitely aware of what our economic development incentives were when we talked with them, and we've been working on this deal with them as a part of their acquiring that property and moving ahead with their plans. So yes, I do believe it was in the equation.
Thank you.
So no, I had a follow-up question on that. So, well, I love the jobs. I love 50 jobs. They're going to bring us 50 jobs. Are we going to count those jobs? Are we going to hold them accountable to do that? Or who follows up and manages that?
We obviously don't have that in the development agreement language, but we will be checking into them with our existing business visitation program to kind of go through and see how they're doing. Obviously, jobs being out there means that they are succeeding, they are having the businesses filled. We kind of looked at the square footages and the types of stores that they were going to have out there with the food, with the gas, with the repair place, and we believe that 50 jobs is definitely attainable based on other numbers that we've seen at other restaurants and things like that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Noel.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Noel, that property seems site-specific to somebody like Love's. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, I don't know where else they would have went. So it seems to me that we're given pretty good incentives for a site that they probably were going to go to anyway. And the problem we get into, in my opinion, we give them 75% for 8 years. Then Quick Trip's going to want 75% for 8 years. The next guy is going to want 20. We're never dig ourselves out of this hole we keep getting in.
I mean, the other part of the equation is without the incentives that they don't build there, we're gaining absolutely nothing. And, that's why we don't go to the 100% per year amount anymore, so that we're always getting some money into the TIF district to help pay off the debt service levy so that we can help keep the levy down overall for the citizens of Waterloo and also bring the jobs and property tax.
Well, and the downside also is the existing businesses that are paying 100% taxes now have to compete with somebody that's getting 75% off their tax bill. That gets tough. It really does. So,
I do believe, and I'm not saying that that's not true at all, because it definitely is going to be for competition at some point. Love's is probably the first highway-oriented business that we've seen that they are definitely counting on the majority of their traffic coming from the highway than from the existing population. So they're definitely drawing more money to be spent into this area that is otherwise probably bypassing the area.
But we do want Love's here.
I mean, in terms of
So
location.
I don't want to come off
Oh, not at all.
So good questions, but we
In
do
terms of
want
location,
Love's
Mayor,
here.
there are 3 other communities right nearby by us that have lots on Highway 20, which was their main corridor they were looking at.
And how long is that lot set empty with nothing on it? Since we were
I mean,
incorporated.
it's farmland now. It's been farmland. Before that, it was probably prehistoric prairie land. I mean,
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I would just reaffirm what you're saying about we all want to get Love's and other economic development there. Going back to Councilman Lynn's comment, and I've said this several times recently, but we are close to an election time, and I think this whole TIF thing and this whole cities competing with each other is something that has to be addressed in Des Moines. It has to be addressed at a legislative level, because the cities, I mean, we just can't step away from these opportunities because there's too many other people waiting to get them, and we're all playing the same game, and until somebody changes the rules a little bit to be a little bit more responsible, we're fighting a losing battle, I'm afraid. So, yeah.
So, thank you. Good conversation, council. Congratulations, Love. All right. Any other questions? We're on 9 and 10. Any other questions anyone have? Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes, on 9. On number 10, I'm going to abstain because I don't want the perception of a conflict of interest.
A conflict of interest?
This is family business.
Okay, thank you. All right.
His conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Not yours.
Thank you. It's valid.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
All right. Those items carried. 11 and 12, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Amos.
I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution approving the assignment of master development agreement with the University of Iowa Community Credit Union with the North Crossing LLC Logan Plaza Development Agreement, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign and fully execute all necessary paperwork. Number 12 is a resolution approving an encroachment agreement with FDP WTC LLC to allow for 2 canopies to overhang across a portion of a 66-foot utility easement as part of the courtyard by Marriott at TechWorks project at 250 Westfield Avenue.
Second.
All right, the motion's made with the second. Council, questions?
Mr. Mayor, could we have a little overview of number 11?
No, can you tell us about number 11?
Which number?
11.
Noel Anderson, Community Planning and Development Director. Number 11 is really just another legal step in North Crossing moving ahead with the redevelopment of Logan Plaza as a part of their financing package. The University of Iowa Community Credit Union wanted this assignment in place. Our attorneys have looked at it. They're fully fine with all of the language in there about it essentially is not letting North Crossing go ahead and sell off any of the land until they have done the project, which is what we want to see as well. So it all works in alignment with what we're working on.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Other questions? Madam Clerk, roll call vote for 11 and 12.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
All right, those 2 items carry. Number 13,
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Morrissey.
I'd like to make a motion approving change order number 1 with Modern Builders Incorporated of Janesville, Iowa for the bag makeup door replacement project on the airline passenger terminal building at the Waterloo Regional Airport in an amount of $2,600, and authorize the mayor to sign the change order documents.
Second.
All right, that motion's been made with the second. Keith, you want to tell us about that one? We always look at change orders.
Always looking at change orders. What this project is going to do is allow the 2 sets of doors to communicate with each other. It's called an interlock unit, or I'll call it an actuator for lack of a better term, so that one way in, one way out, and so that we'll get, at the end of the project, a much better seal to keep the warm weather inside the baggage makeup office from going outside. And so this has been a project for probably 2 to 3 years that I've wanted to have done. So we're finally getting there.
Sounds like we have actuator here because it's warm in here today.
It sure is.
The heat is not getting out. So, any questions for Keith? All right, thank you, Keith. Madam Clerk, roll call vote. Voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. That item carries. So, quick meeting tonight, but development, progress, new homes. So we definitely appreciate council support and all of our developers and people as well. This is time for oral presentations. It's your turn to come up and express to the council what's on your heart, what's on your thoughts, what's on your mind. So if you would like to come up and do so at this time, it is your time.
David Dreyer, 3145 West 4th Street. We have been speaking to some realtors in town, and that we have at least 147 vacant properties in the city. Why are we not working harder to fill these properties rather than using the Clera or the Cura, which works well for the expansion of the city? To me, it's not in favor of the taxpayers, because we have to do infrastructure, etc. This basically refers to items 3 through 18 on the consent agenda. I would like to see us maybe work with Habitat for Humanity or something, or give people an opportunity to buy these properties. Some of them, according to 3 through 18, are in $150,000 range. Some of those properties have been sitting vacant for quite some time, are in the same range. And we don't seem to worry about filling those in. We seem to worry about expanding the city, which costs us as taxpayers infrastructure money, and they get a 3-year tax exemption. We don't end up seeing any relief out of this. I guess I don't understand. Why aren't we working more with Habitat or something to fill in these properties rather than expanding the city? I guess I would like to understand that.
All right. Well, do you have any other questions?
I'd like an answer, sir.
All right. Well, perception is not reality in this case. Habitat for Humanity right now is developing in the city of Waterloo, and over the course of about the last, 8 years since I've been on council, there's been countless amounts of homes that Habitat has built in our local area. And
yes, you're on vacant land. We have vacant properties.
Okay, but are you talking about building, or are you talking about rehabbing a house?
Well, Habitat does both.
For instance, what is the field that they're currently building on? Do you want to give an update on what Habitat is doing? They have been working in this community, so I don't want to give the perception or allow people to think the perception that we haven't been partnering with Habitat or there's not an aggressive effort to try to move forward. We are working on our strategic plans right now, and some of that information is possibly one part of the goals that we'll do, but to say city staff isn't working to try to fill some of those lots, that's not the right view. No?
Yeah, just noting Habitat to begin with, they've worked exclusively or very much with our Community Development Department and Rudy Jones as being the CHODO, which is the chosen housing developer, using some of our federal dollars when we can. They're also redeveloping the former Irving School site. They'll be building 14 new houses on there in what we're calling a Habitat Village. They're very excited. They come up with some very good housing designs that will complement and blend in with that surrounding area. I would just note in terms of going after vacant houses, the city of Waterloo is the state leader in utilizing a portion of state code called 657A. We aggressively go after these abandoned houses that tax sale buyers in California or Arizona or Wisconsin have bought them and are letting them sit and rot. We aggressively go after them. We do try to market them for redevelopment. Community Development Department, again, led by Rudy Jones, just took one from a bank that was a vacant house. They're redeveloping that. They'll be able to sell that We're working with a lot of, and trying to attract more housing investors to come in here and take these vacant houses. Or we do demolish those to eliminate them as a blight, as a nuisance for public safety, and just safety in general for neighborhood decay. And then we demolish them and we try to get them redeveloped. So we are working hard in many efforts.
And I think, going to your comment too, can we get better at doing that? Absolutely, absolutely. But that is the focus moving forward, to try to make sure we relieve some of those units. We can't force someone to build in a certain place, but can we do better in marketing? Yeah, of course. So thank you, sir.
And one of the things that the realtors have told us is that a lot of these houses that are still vacant are going to be bought by rental people, and you can bet that those areas are going to be a blighted area of the city after they get done with the rental. Thank you.
Tell those realtors to come talk to me. I'm on board. All right.
Good evening, Forrest Dillaboo, 1725 Huntington Road. Good news tonight, Downing Avenue got opened up today. The Blackhawk School people will be able to go up and down Downing Avenue. They made some temporary fixes that look very good for temporary fixes. The sign people came around and picked up the signs today, and the people doing that job did not do as well as those before them. They, maybe you've heard, you're shaking your head, yes. When they picked up the sandbags, rather than throw them on the truck, it looked like in front of my house, they took a knife and slit the bottom and dumped the sand on the street. I asked them, are you going to clean up the sand? And they said the city will be around with a sweeper and sweep that up. I called to find out, and that is not the case. The city does not follow up and clean up behind the contractor. I'm working with the department head to get them back and clean up the sand. If it rains tonight, they probably won't have to do it. It'll all go down the drain and into our storm sewers.
Oh, don't say that.
Which we are trying to avoid. But the department head is working at it, and I would just like to thank that department head for doing that.
Public-private partnerships. And you know, it was interesting. I was in a meeting last week with Mid-America, and I brought up the conversation about street lights. And I told them we have some very concerned residents interested in that, and your name preceded itself because they know about your advocacy for that. So thank you so much for making sure that we get the proper lighting for our neighborhoods, because that also has an impact on public safety. So.
And University Avenue, that I've mentioned many times, is better lit than it has been in years. And I thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You thought I was going to say something else, didn't you?
It could happen.
Sir, please.
I'm Jose Cocason, better known as Mr. Joseph Hart.
Yes, sir.
My question is, years ago when they were picking up garbage from the alleys, they would maintain the alleys. I was informed that the city has abandoned those alleys. Now they are in bad shape. The utility lines, they are overtaken by tree branches, vines, etc. If that should be a big storm, that means that the utility is going to be out of circulation. Night before last, a big tree fell in the alley, just missing utility lines. My question is, what is going to be done about maintaining these alleys? To whom it may concern.
All right. Mr. Hart, you look very familiar.
Well, I was told that I'm your uncle.
Mr. Hart, could you state your address for the record?
400 Charles Street, Waterloo, Iowa.
All right, and you're talking about ones in your immediate neighborhood?
Yes.
All right, so Sandy, if you want to take that 400 Charles Street, we'll have Sandy and staff go around and take a look in that area and see what we can do and try to work on that for you.
Do appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
I just
Morrison.
wanted to add that I've received some complaints about some alleys in Ward 3 as well, that they're not being maintained. So
Right.
I mean, my question is there a policy that downgrades the importance of maintaining those alleys.
A policy downgrading, or do we have a policy period about maintaining
As the
alleys?
policy shifted.
Mr. Mayor, I think I can address that.
Mr. Welper?
Yes, the alleys, we can be graded by request. Right. You simply notify the street department and they will grade your alley. That's right.
Have you communicated that to our street department?
I will. Thank you.
All right, so we got that address, and then Mr. Morrissey will be in contact as well. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council at this moment? Going the second time?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to address the council. Gentlemen, a few weeks ago, you agreed to work with me on tabling the sale of a city property as I continue to work on a plan for infill of lots. Meeting with my committee this past Friday, they're stating that it's becoming increasingly difficult to move on without going public with all the logistics that are involved in this plan. I am requesting a 4-hour work session on November 14th, and Mr. Dreyer, you want to be there for that.
You said 4 hours?
Excuse me. A hour, excuse me.
An hour.
That's much better.
A hour on the, well, it may take 4 hours. No. 1 hour on the 14th. There we go.
November 14th.
Yes, November 14th.
What time's your time?
We won't know yet.
So, we will take that under advisement, and then we will try to accommodate that request.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Morrissey.
Also, I think it was last week that you had put forward moving oral comments to the first part of the meeting. Or have you decided that that is going to happen, and if so, when it would be started?
The beginning of November. There were some logistical things that need to be done because we have an electronic format. Our city clerk has emailed the necessary folks to let them know that we'd like to see that change. Hadn't received any comments back from council as of yet, so the beginning of November we'll move forward.
Thanks.
Motion to receive all comments and adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
We adjourn.